the first NFL game in Germany between the GOAT, Tom Brady, taking on Pete Carroll and the upstart Seattle Seahawks, the Seahawks who traded away their franchise quarterback and got in a new one. Geno Smith, clearly the franchise quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. No qualms or reservations in saying that, as Geno Smith continues to be a top 5 quarterback in QBR, completion percentage, and is just laughing to the bank as he is sure to cash a few checks because someone's offering him a deal. Maybe it's the Seahawks, maybe it's someone else, but Geno Smith is officially going to get paid in the NFL. For every West Virginia fan that held on to belief that Geno Smith was going to become something special, you are finally rewarded. And I still look back at his rookie year in that weird situation with that New York Jets player that knocked him out. But glad to see Geno's back on his feet because what he's been able to do in Seattle as a Niners fan, I do have to give him the respect as an NFL player for what he's done, but hate on the fact that he happens to do this in this year where the Niners are kind of mediocre in terms of their record and performance. And now the Seahawks, a 6-win team, they're probably going to be in the playoffs. When you just look around the landscape of the NFC, it's hard to kind of see a situation in which the Seahawks don't end up at least in a wild card spot, if not winning the NFC West outright. They play this Tampa Bay team. The Tampa Bay, oh my gosh, this offense. We've mentioned this offense has been bad the last few weeks. Aside from the last 60 seconds of this game against the Rams, when they happened to pull off the miraculous victory that was the Rams. We talked about that game being a mid-off. It truly was. It was everything that we advertised it as. It was a true mid-off when you consider how those teams performed against each other. It just turns out that the Rams, aside from a 70-yard Cooper Kupp touchdown, were just more mid. Tom Brady, he had to throw almost 60 times in this game against the Rams. 45-year-old Tom Brady's throwing more than 60 times or close to 60 times. You have an issue. And the issue is that running game for Tampa. Leonard Fournette, we knew that he came into the offseason out of shape. And clearly, when you consider also that he's been dealing with a little bit of injuries and aggravations, you consider the offensive line, the lack thereof of Gronk, the change at coaching staff, whatever it is, they don't know how to scheme up running plays. Tom Brady's having to throw more. Brian Leftwich had to give Tom Brady the "you saved my job" hug at the end of that game because he has to feel like he's on the hot seat. There's a lot of bad situations going on with the Bucs, and it's funny to kind of get that contrast because it's nothing but good times in Seattle. They feel like they won the trade already for the Russell Wilson trade. They feel as though that they're already walking to the bank with a check that's ready to cash, and it's cashing with all these draft picks. They're already players, starters on their team. Kenneth Walker's looking amazing. I don't even care how good the Bucs run defense. Kenneth Walker is just a guy. He's that dude. He's something special.
Yes.
Like, even
Pete
against
Carroll,
this Bucs run defense, Kenneth Walker, fantasy advice, never take Kenneth Walker out of your lineup. Bottom line, end of story. Kenneth Walker is this year's rookie breakout. Might be legitimately for the next 5 years one of the best running backs in the National Football League.
Kenneth Walker, I've been making this joke for weeks now. Pete Carroll took up the Mel Tucker play calling, which is just rip cigarettes and call cool shit for Kenneth Walker, baby. That's the Seattle Seahawk way. And this is the thing you said at the beginning. Seattle's probably going to make the playoffs and they're going to earn it. If Seattle makes the playoffs, they are going to earn that playoff spot this year because they have had a top 10 offense, a respectable defense. I'm not going to say a good defense, but a respectable defense that is ranked in the top half of the league at this point, which is something that was totally unexpected going into the year. When we
looked at their preseason, right? We thought this was going to be what the Detroit Lions were.
Yes, that defense, it doubled down by the fact Jamal Adams got hurt out for season in week 1. I mean, come on. It was totally implausible. And they signed Bruce Irvin off the street, and he's been like a Pro Bowl linebacker since getting there. Like, they cut Bobby Wagner. Jamal Adams got hurt for the season, and they improved on defense from last season. That's absolutely incredible. And maybe it's not sustainable, but it's still, they're very turnover reliant. So that's obviously the key, is like it could regress if the turnovers stop. But man, it's crazy.
You know, it is sustainable when you have multiple highly coveted draft picks in your arsenal. You know, it's clear they won the trade, right? Is Russ going to get 100%, miraculously 100%. Better?
No, they won the trade. Even if Russ gets better and the Broncos fix that, it's not like they lost. They still won. They've
No.
already won. The only
They-
situation is the Broncos don't look as bad. Like the Seahawks already are winners.
I mean, we don't know how this quarterback thing is going to work out for them because eventually they might hit the conclusion that they'll have to move off Geno Smith, but there's no reason, at least this year, that they have any reason to do such. Geno Smith has been nothing short of amazing. When you look at, again, just compare him to every other quarterback in the NFC. You look at the top tier, we're talking about like Kirk Cousins, we're talking about Jalen Hurts, Dak.
No, Geno Smith is a Pro
Yeah.
Bowler. This is locked in. Geno Smith is making the Pro Bowl this season, and that's a byproduct of the NFC has no good quarterbacks, but Geno Smith is making the Pro Bowl this year. That is almost a guarantee at this point, which is incredible to think about.
Yeah, we never see this happen, right? We never see a player that what was he, a second round pick when he was initially drafted? A second round pick from ages ago. How I even forget when Geno Smith was in college. I remember it was amazing. I remember those West Virginia teams were a lot of fun, but at the same time, like I forgot about Geno Smith as a prospect because it just feels so long ago. Him being buried on depth charts in New York and San Diego and Seattle, and never seeing him step on the field kind of just made you forget who Geno Smith even was. And, you know, he has the quote from this early part of the season, "They wrote me off, I didn't write back," which put that on a t-shirt is just an epic slogan.
At the very least, the one thing I'm proud of is that I knew from the very beginning of training camp, there is no scenario where he's worse than Drew Lock. I did know that
I'll give you your flowers on that one, man.
I knew he wasn't worse than Drew Lock.
I thought it was going to be a closer. I thought more of at least Drew Lock, the prospect, maybe recency bias. But you know who the real winner in all of this is? Ben McAdoo. Called it. Giants.
Yeah.
Benched Eli for Geno Smith. He knew all along. My Ben McAdoo truthers out there. Geno Smith was truly the answer in New York. But no, you refuted him. You called for the dying, dead corpse of Eli Manning to take the field once more in New York. And look what
and then passed on Josh Allen in the draft the next year because of that.
Yeah. Look what befell the New York Giants organization, all because you doubted the hair gel,
you can draw
hair, the sunglasses.
You can draw
of Ben
direct,
McAdoo.
You can draw a direct line from that to Gettleman. Like everything that happened after that could be traced back to that one moment. But yeah, like good on Geno Smith. In terms of this game, I will say, you know how we said Tampa was in a mid-off last week against the Rams? Yeah. I think this week is going to be just slightly less of a mid-off than last week.
No. They'll have to fight for it.
I'm going to put my Tony Romo prognosticator cap on because remember when he said at the first drive of the Bills-Chiefs game that it was going to be a 24-20 game and then the final score was exactly 24-20. I'm going to say 24-20 this week is going to be the score of the game and the winner could be either team, but for my personal sake, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win 24-20 in the first ever game in Germany. That is my prognostication.
I am so torn on this game because I just feel so many more positive vibes coming from Seattle. The vibes, man, coming from Seattle. They're a feel-good story. I look at Tampa Bay and maybe that win against LA was the win they needed to spark their season. We've seen teams have a turning point, a tipping point moment, and maybe winning a game in the final seconds with your Hall of Fame quarterback, greatest of all time, as he throws for 100,000 passing yards, was the moment that they needed. It's just so hard to bet on this team because was that enough? Was just a mentality change enough? Because I think that there is just core problems.
Does it help if Vegas says that they're a 1.5 point favorite going into this game?
Not really, because there's a lot of weird variables that come into play with these European games. In fact, I'm curious. I honestly don't know. Is this Tom Brady's first time in Europe?
I believe so.
In the league a long time.
No, I believe that he went once in like 2009, but I believe it's his first time in like 14 years or something like that.
So it's hard to very much fall on experience there. I don't know the last time Seattle had to do an international game either. So I don't know who really has the advantage in that respect. We'll just defer to who I think is the better team going in. I still think it's Tampa, but I'm going to select Tampa very reluctantly. I'm not feeling good about this pick at all.
I will say, though, for all the analysis and the feel goods about Seattle, the best unit on the field on Sunday will be the Tampa defense. And if you want to bet on something, bet on that.
It's a Tampa defense that is marred by injuries, particularly with their star pass rusher Shaq Barrett not being on this team the rest of the season.
We still don't know if Murphy Bunting's going to come back this week or not, but he's been waiting to come back for a few weeks now.
And if Seattle's able to control the clock, get Kenneth Walker rolling, then it could very easily just break down the game plan for Tampa. And we know that it's not a very strong game plan to begin with, because whatever Leftwich and Bowles are cooking up, it just hasn't been really working this season. We'll see if they could get it together. We'll see if that win against Los Angeles was, again, the spark that this team needed. Get out of town, get out of the country. We've seen a lot of guys go through the divorce and just leave the country, and it'd be better for them. Maybe that's Tom Brady this week. Anyway, guys, leave below in the comment section, Seahawks, Bucs, who gets the win in Germany? Like to hear your thoughts. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all our social medias, and we will see you next time.